Hi everyone, in this video I will be comparing the discussions on The View and Loose Women through the lens of ethical speaking. I believe the discussion on The View put down how the panelists contribute to their communication breakdown and how the women on the loose were able to maintain civility even though they disagree with the topic that was brought up. And also I would be discussing personal takeaway from watching both conversations. So first I'm going to talk about The View. The View discussion was talked about the Iraq war and the disagreement of the president's strategy on how he did certain things. Rosie O'Donnell, she challenged Elizabeth, I forgot her last name, but when Elizabeth referred to people in Iraq as our enemies, and Rosie pointed out that the Iraq was not responsible for the 9/11 attacks. Elizabeth explained that she was referring to it starts with an A. Al-Qaeda, I think that's how you say it, operating in Iraq. Instead of staying focused on clarifying the political issue, however, the conversation became increasingly personal. Another example that I would like to bring up was when Rosie discussed she felt unsupported by Elizabeth and just not, getting that strong, sense of support that she felt like she should have got. Rosie brought up how conservative media had portrayed her as being just not believing that American troops were terrorists. Rosie also felt that Elizabeth should have defended her publicly about this specific conversation. Elizabeth responded to Rosie and responsible for clarifying her own comments that she had made. Rosie then became frustrated and called, I remember it specifically when I watched the video, she called her cowardly, and I was like, oh. That was real, I'm not gonna say it was real strong, but genuinely that's how she felt, and overall, so, and they just, no longer mainly just talked about Iraq. It became more of a personal issue between Rosie and Elizabeth together. So, yeah. And I feel like for both sides, I feel like communication could have been way better about how the Iraq conversation shouldn't have turned personal how it did. Because I feel like bringing outside world issues into a personal conversation, it can blow up automatically. Even just in general of talking about politics and things like that. When I compare with the Loose Women video that I watched, it was also expressing very different opinions about, they're just different comments that was made about the issue. It was right of the launch of environmental Earthshot Prize during the COVID-19 pandemic. Jane explained that she believed the timing was not right because people were already dealing with the pandemic, their families, jobs, money issues, and specifically mental health. Denise agreed with Jane and explained that although protecting the environment is important, but it was not necessarily the priority for many people at the moment. Through this conversation, people had different perspectives that was introduced. One of the panelists argued that the timing was actually perfect because climate change could not simply be postponed. So I feel like overall, with comparing or just watching both videos, The View had its more interruptions and very defensiveness against both, and then the Loose it held strong disagreements while still maintaining civilly by listening, responding to actual issues that was talked about within the conversation. And that's my video. Bye.